Hey y'all, it's Kate from the Apothecary and welcome back to my channel. I was editing this bi-weekly reading vlog when I realized I never filmed an intro to this bi-weekly reading vlog, so I am welcoming you back to another bi-weekly reading vlog. This is for the weeks of, I believe, January 20th to February 3rd, now 4th because this has been delayed a day. So just filming this really quickly to say welcome, so we didn't just jump straight into the reading, but welcome y'all. I hope you guys had a fantastic past 2 weeks, and I'm really looking forward to updating you all on all of my reading in the past 2 weeks. I have one book to check in on and a short story, of course. I finished this weekend, I finished Anna Karenina. This was a reread I was doing via the audiobook, which was narrated by Maggie Gyllenhaal, and she did such a fantastic job. Overall, I gave this book 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I'll have a review coming for this shortly, but I felt like there was just too much going on. I could not keep track of all the different characters, or maybe they were the same characters with different names. I don't know. I couldn't keep track of everything, but Maggie Gyllenhaal did such a fantastic job narrating it. I gave it like a little bit extra in my Instagram review, a little extra diggity, because Maggie Gyllenhaal did such a great job. And then, of course, on Sunday, I read a short story for Short Story Sunday. That came out of this collection, Burning Girls and Other Stories by Veronica Shanos. The first story in this book was called Among the Thorns, and what Victoria Shanos does in her collection is take a lot of the old fairy tales by the Grimm brothers and like Hans Christian Andersen that revolve around Jewish characters, and she kind of modernized them, put them into this collection, and also kind of shifted the focus, at least of some of these, to be strong female characters. So all of her main characters in her short stories and novellas in this collection are female characters, and they're Jewish. And first I read the foreword by Jane Yolen, and I have a quote I want to read off to you. Kind of summarizes the short stories in this collection so well. Jane writes, "However, make no mistake, these are not those old tales, the ones that wobble about on the superhighway of retellings, often losing both plot and characterization from the long years of tongue polishing. Rather, these stories come from an unconfined imagination soaked in the old stories, but told by an author who has studied them with a microscope and has carved them into her heart. She has also developed along the way a critical understanding that to make their mark in this century, the characters need real agency, not just chance meetings with old ladies in the woods, not just a kind fox or rabbit or wolf to show them the way." And I just thought that was a great summation of this collection. So I can't wait to go forward and read more of the short stories in this collection. Among the Thorns was about a girl who is seeking revenge for her father's murder. She will do anything to get this revenge. She even goes 10 years without revenge just to get the perfect revenge. Her father had become the legend, the dancing Jew, where a peddler had this enchanted fiddle that made people dance, and he also had an enchanted blow dart that made him never miss his target. So he used this fiddle. First, he used the blow dart to kind of almost paralyze the father so he couldn't run away. And then he used his fiddle to make the dad dance on a bunch of thorns, a thorny bush essentially, until he admitted to a crime that he never even committed. He was not a thief, but the peddler made him admit to this crime, and then of course he was hung because the town that he was in was all against the Jewish people. So she took this story of the dancing Jew and put it into her own put her own spin on it with this daughter seeking revenge for her father, and is just very descriptive and violent. If you are a person that does not do well with descriptive, violent writing and religious slurs, you know, this town is against the Jewish people, so you get slurs against Jewish to give you that feel of the town. So if you're against that kind of stuff, I probably would hesitate picking up this book. But if you can appreciate it for what it does for the writing, highly recommend this. I've only read one story so far, but it's so good. So that leads me to what I'm currently reading, which is way too much at the moment, but it is what it is. My current reads include The Gathering Storm, which is book 12 in the Wheel of Time series, now by Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson. And y'all, Brandon Sanderson has done this series such a big favor. I am loving this book so much. The Garden Gnome, which was my self-pub book for January that's been going on way too long. It's a slow build, which is part of the reason why it's been taking me so long. But I've also had less reading time this month, so there's that. Black Veil by Christian Britton. This is book 4 in the Green Riders series. This one is also a slow book. I'm told it picks up, and I'm right at the part where it's supposed to be picking up, so we'll see. A Grave for Us All. This is the arc for book 2 in the Crown and Tide series by Michael Roberti. This is so good, y'all. This is Michael Roberti's best writing that I've read, and I can't wait to see how this ends up. I've also got 2 audiobooks going on, along with the audiobook from my immersion read for Wheel of Time. I have the Jane Austen collection, which is like, I think 5 of her novels all in one, with like an ensemble cast and music in between chapters. I'm absolutely loving this reread of my Jane Austen novels. This was part of my random audiobook selection. I went to the oldest audiobook I had in my collection that I hadn't listened to yet and marked that as a read. So that's like my nighttime reading as I'm trying to fall asleep, because I've already read those books, so I'm not afraid of missing anything. But the full cast, including like Emma Thompson, so the full cast for the Jane Austen collection is just absolutely fantastic. And then the last book that I have going on right now is called Blood Rights. This is book 6, I think, in the Dresden series. I'm listening to this on audio while I'm doing chores around the house and working out and that kind of stuff, and I am loving this one so much. We start off with Harry Dresden and a box full of puppies. He is in charge of finding these puppies. They're like supposed to be mystical, magical puppies or something. So that was a great start to the book. And then he gets hired for a job on a porn film, and it's just so funny. I can't wait to see where this book goes. Leslie keeps telling me, you just wait. So I'm so excited. So that's where my reading's at now, and I'll check in at least one other time before the end of the week, hopefully 2 more times, we'll see. Hey y'all, checking in one last time for our bi-weekly reading vlog. Today is Sunday, February 4th. I know this is a day later than it usually comes out. I just was not feeling well yesterday. I just had a weird stomach thing going on, so I delayed this video another day, and because of that I have 2 short reads to check in on. So we've got our Joan Didion essay of the month, The Women's Movement. This was an essay that used Didion's sarcasm to highlight just how much people underestimated women and the women's movement of the 70s, and I really enjoyed this essay. And then my other check-in I have to check in about is today's short story for Short Story Sunday comes from Exhalation by Ted Chiang. This book has been staring at me ever since I brought it home from the bookstore, The Regulator. I read the first story in this collection. That was The Merchant and the Alchemist's Gate, and I really enjoyed the storytelling aspect of this book and the immersive world building. It was worlds within worlds and stories within stories, and I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see what more Ted Chiang has to offer us in Exhalation. That leaves my current reads for the next couple weeks. A lot of these are going to sound familiar because I've been really busy in the past couple weeks, And really the past month, I didn't get a lot of reading done in January, but I am really enjoying just about everything I'm reading, including The Gathering Storm by Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson, book 12 in the Wheel of Time series. This book has gotten so good that in my reading vlogs, it feels like almost every chapter I have something to check in on. I have these crazy reactions going on. Things are happening everywhere in this book and I'm loving it. We also have The Garden Gnome by Jeff McIntyre. This was my self-pub book for January, carrying over into February, of course. Things are starting to come together in this book and I am dying to see how this ends up. Black Veil by Christian Britton. This is book 4 in the Green Rider series. I'd say this is probably the book that I'm enjoying the least out of all of my current reads. It's just a really slow book and I don't find myself as interested in what's happening as I am in other books. We have A Grave for Us All. I'm reading the arc of this book. It's a very early arc. Michael Roberti is actually editing it as I'm reading it and I'm giving him feedback as I come across things and he's changing it to make it better, and this is his best book so far. I can't wait for everyone to read this. I think he's aiming for a March release of this. I can't wait for people to read this. I am almost done with this. I have like 10% left in this book and it is so good. I'm also reading Blood Rights by Jim Butcher. This is book 6 in the Dresden Files. I'm listening to audiobook of this and it's amazing. It's definitely my favorite book of this series and it's just so good. And then the last book on my current reads list includes the Jane Austen collection. So this is an Audible collection of, I think, 5 of Jane Austen's novels. I have finished Sense and Sensibility, which was the first book up there, and now I'm on Pride and Prejudice. I believe I've read all of Jane Austen's work at least once. A lot of books I've read more than once. These first 2 books are rereads, some of my most often books that I've reread. And I am loving this full cast audiobook of these books. So that's it for now. As always, my Patreon and my Discord information will be in the description below. Let me know in the comments below, what was your favorite reading moment from the past 2 weeks? What are you looking forward to reading the most in the next 2 weeks? Keep reading and I love you all to the moon and back. Bye.